Did you know that the wealthiest 1% of Americans own 39% of the nation's wealth, while the bottom 90% hold only 22%? Shocking, right? This gap between the rich and poor is just one of the many issues caused by capitalism. But what if there's a better way? Socialism promises more equality, and communism aims for a perfect, classless society. But do these systems really work in practice? And could they ever compete with the success of capitalism? In this video, we'll break down how capitalism, socialism, and communism shape the world we live in. We'll explore the promises of each system, the flaws that hold them back, and the surprising ways they've evolved over time. Stay tuned for a deep dive into the history, strategies, and real-world results of these powerful ideologies. Who really wins in the battle for the best economic system? Let's find out. Chapter 1: The Dream of the Free Market. Capitalism's promise. Capitalism has always promised to reward hard work, innovation, and entrepreneurship. At its core, it believes in the power of the free market, where buyers and sellers can make deals without much government interference. This has led to immense economic growth in many countries, especially in the US and Western Europe. According to data from the World Bank, countries with capitalist economies have seen higher GDP per capita over the years. For example, the US has consistently been one of the richest nations in the world, with a GDP per capita over $70,000 in recent years. One of the main strategies of capitalism is competition. When businesses compete, they are forced to improve their products and lower prices, benefiting consumers. Think about the tech industry. Companies like Apple and Samsung constantly release new models, pushing the envelope on innovation. This drives economic growth and creates jobs. However, there's also a downside. Wealth tends to accumulate in the hands of a few. In 2021, the richest 1% of Americans owned 32% of the nation's wealth, while the bottom 50% held only 2%. Capitalism also relies on individualism. The idea is that everyone has the freedom to succeed based on their abilities. This is why entrepreneurship is celebrated in capitalist societies. People like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos are seen as heroes, proof that anyone can reach the top if they have the right mindset. But critics argue that capitalism often favors those with resources, leaving behind the poor. According to a study by the OECD, income inequality in capitalist countries has been rising steadily over the past few decades. Despite its flaws, capitalism's emphasis on personal freedom and choice has led to breakthroughs in technology, medicine, and entertainment. Without capitalism, we might not have the internet, smartphones, or life-saving vaccines. But the system is far from perfect. It's a fine balance between freedom and fairness, and sometimes that balance tips too far toward the rich. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on the systems that shape our world. Chapter 2: Equality versus Freedom. The Socialist Dilemma. Socialism begins with a simple idea: everyone deserves a fair shot, regardless of their starting point in life. Unlike capitalism, which values individual success, socialism prioritizes collective welfare. It's about ensuring that all people have access to basic needs like healthcare, education, and housing. Scandinavian countries like Sweden, Denmark, and Norway have long been praised for their socialist systems. According to the OECD, these countries consistently rank high in quality of life, with low levels of poverty and high levels of public services. The strategy of these Scandinavian nations is a mix of market capitalism and strong social safety nets. While private businesses thrive, the government ensures universal healthcare, free education, and generous welfare programs. Sweden's tax rates can be high, up to 57% for top earners, but in return, citizens enjoy a high quality of life. According to the Human Development Index, HDI, which measures factors like health, education, and income, these countries consistently rank among the highest in the world. But socialism isn't without its challenges. The system can become inefficient when too much power is concentrated in the hands of the government. For example, in the former Soviet Union, the government controlled all aspects of the economy. While the state provided jobs for everyone, it also led to inefficiency and stagnation. In 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed under the weight of its own economic system. Another issue with socialism is that it can sometimes dampen innovation. If everyone gets paid the same, regardless of their effort or skill, what's the incentive to work harder or come up with new ideas? This is a common criticism of socialist economies. However, some argue that a safety net can actually encourage people to take more risks and pursue their passions, knowing they won't fall into poverty. The key question in socialism is how much equality is too much. If the system takes away too much freedom, can it really be called fair? This is where the debate begins: should we focus on equal outcomes or equal opportunities? Countries like Cuba have struggled to find a balance, and while they provide basic needs, they still face challenges in terms of personal freedoms. Be sure to subscribe to stay updated on how these ideologies affect our world today. Chapter 3: The Utopian Vision. Can communism work? Communism, as envisioned by Karl Marx, is the ultimate form of economic equality. In a communist society, there are no classes, no private property, and everyone works together for the common good. It's an idealistic vision of a utopia where everyone shares everything equally. But does this vision really work in practice? History tells us it's a complex question. The strategy of communism is to abolish private property and establish a system where the means of production, like factories, farms, and land, are owned by the state or the people collectively. The idea is to eliminate class distinctions and ensure that everyone contributes to society. However, countries that have tried to implement communism have faced serious challenges. Take the Soviet Union, for example. After the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, Lenin and later Stalin sought to create a classless society. But by the time of Stalin's rule, the government had become highly authoritarian, controlling every aspect of life. The country experienced famines, purges, and widespread poverty, despite the communist ideals of equality and abundance. In fact, historians estimate that millions died as a result of these policies. China, too, attempted to implement communism under Mao Zedong. The Great Leap Forward in the late 1950s, aimed at rapidly industrializing the country, led to one of the deadliest famines in human history, with an estimated 30 million people dying. While China has since shifted towards a hybrid system, allowing for some elements of capitalism, it still holds onto some key communist principles. Despite these failures, there are still supporters of communism who believe that its core principles, abolishing class divisions and prioritizing collective well-being, are sound. They argue that capitalism creates too much inequality and that communism offers a more just alternative. However, the question remains, can a truly classless, stateless society ever exist without collapsing under its own weight? Until today, no country has fully achieved the Marxist vision of communism. Don't miss out. Subscribe for more insights into the real-world applications of these ideologies. Chapter 4: Capitalism's Cracks. Where the system breaks. While capitalism has undeniably driven progress and prosperity, it's not without its flaws. One of the most glaring issues is the rising wealth inequality. A 2020 report from the Federal Reserve showed that the top 1% of American households own 39% of the country's wealth, while the bottom 90% hold just 22%. This growing gap between the rich and poor is a direct result of capitalism's emphasis on individual success, where those with capital can invest and grow their wealth, while the poor often face stagnant wages and fewer opportunities. Capitalism also thrives on competition, but it can lead to monopolies, where large corporations dominate entire industries. Take the tech giants like Amazon, Google, and Facebook. These companies, while offering great services, control vast portions of the online marketplace. In 2023, Amazon alone captured over 40% of all online retail sales in the US. This concentration of power leads to fewer choices for consumers and potentially higher prices. Another crack in the system is the environmental toll that unchecked capitalism has caused. In the race to maximize profits, many companies have exploited natural resources without regard for the planet's long-term health. According to the Global Carbon Project, carbon emissions from fossil fuels reached a record high in 2022, driven largely by capitalist-driven industries. While there are companies taking steps to become more sustainable, the market doesn't always reward businesses for being environmentally responsible. Capitalism also creates a boom and bust cycle. During times of economic growth, things seem great, but when the market crashes, like in the 2008 financial crisis, millions of people lose jobs, homes, and savings. The financial meltdown showed how fragile the system can be, as banks and financial institutions, driven by the desire for profits, made risky bets that led to a global recession. The government had to step in with bailouts, which sparked debates about how capitalism works for the rich, but leaves the middle and lower classes to bear the consequences. Finally, capitalism often emphasizes short-term profits over long-term stability. This focus on quarterly earnings can push companies to make decisions that benefit them now but harm them in the future. In industries like fast fashion, companies prioritize low production costs and high sales, leading to waste and poor working conditions. The truth is that while capitalism has driven innovation and growth, it has also created significant social, economic, and environmental costs that we cannot ignore. Like what you've learned? Subscribe for more in-depth analysis on these systems. Chapter 5, Revolution or Evolution. Socialism's shift from theory to practice. Socialism, in its theoretical form, promises a more equal distribution of wealth and resources. But how does this theory translate into practice? While many countries have embraced socialist ideas, the systems have often evolved in unique ways, shaped by culture, politics, and history. The Nordic model, seen in countries like Sweden, Denmark, and Finland, is one of the most successful examples of socialism in action. The strategy of these Scandinavian nations is a mix of market capitalism and strong social safety nets. While private businesses thrive, the government ensures universal healthcare, free education, and generous welfare programs. Sweden's tax rates can be high, up to 57% for top earners, but in return, citizens enjoy a high quality of life. According to the Human Development Index, HDI, which measures factors like health, education, and income, these countries consistently rank among the highest in the world. But socialism's evolution hasn't always been so smooth. In the 20th century, many nations adopted socialism with a more authoritarian approach. In Cuba, for example, Fidel Castro implemented socialist policies that eliminated private businesses and centralized economic power. While healthcare and education improved, the country faced shortages and stagnation. As of 2023, Cuba still struggles with a weak economy, and many people rely on black market goods to survive. Socialism also faces the challenge of human nature. People are naturally inclined to work in their self-interest, and the promise of equal outcomes for all can sometimes undermine individual ambition. The Soviet Union's attempt at socialism under Lenin and Stalin is a case study of how this can go wrong. By attempting to enforce strict economic control and eliminate private property, the USSR faced massive inefficiencies and corruption. In fact, it was estimated that 20 million people died as a result of policies during Stalin's regime. Despite these challenges, many believe that socialism, when adapted to modern realities, can lead to a fairer society. The idea is not to abolish private enterprise entirely, but to ensure that everyone has access to the essentials for a good life. A study by the International Labour Organization in 2021 found that countries with strong social programs, like Finland and Norway, tend to have lower poverty rates and higher levels of happiness. Stay tuned and subscribe for a look at what the future might hold for socialism and capitalism. Chapter 6, Beyond the Labels, Hybrid Systems of the Future. In recent years, many countries have moved away from rigid ideologies and embraced hybrid economic systems. These systems combine elements of capitalism, socialism, and even communism, creating unique models that don't fit neatly into any one category. China, for example, is often cited as a socialist market economy. While it maintains strong communist ideals, the country has embraced many aspects of capitalism to drive its rapid growth. As of 2023, China has the second largest economy in the world, with a GDP of over $17 trillion. The strategy behind China's hybrid system is a focus on state control over key industries, while encouraging private businesses to thrive in others. The government has maintained control over sectors like energy, telecommunications, and banking, while allowing market competition in areas like technology and manufacturing. This blend of socialism and capitalism has allowed China to rapidly industrialize, lifting hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. However, critics argue that this system still suffers from inequality, lack of political freedom, and limited personal rights. In the West, countries like Canada and the United Kingdom have also adopted hybrid systems, balancing free market policies with social welfare programs. The UK, for example, offers free healthcare through the National Health Service, NHS, while maintaining a largely capitalist economy. In Canada, universal healthcare is available, but private businesses still play a significant role in the economy. These hybrid systems allow for some of the benefits of socialism, such as reduced poverty and better access to healthcare, while still encouraging innovation and entrepreneurship. One of the key advantages of hybrid systems is flexibility. Countries can adapt their economic models to address changing circumstances. For example, after the 2008 financial crisis, many capitalist nations implemented socialist-inspired policies, such as stimulus packages and expanded welfare programs, to prevent economic collapse. This shift towards more government intervention showed that even capitalist nations recognize the importance of social safety nets in times of crisis. The future of hybrid systems may lie in their ability to adapt to new challenges, such as climate change and automation. As industries like artificial intelligence and robotics replace human workers, there will be a growing need for new social programs to ensure that people aren't left behind. Some experts believe that a more equitable system could emerge by blending the best aspects of socialism and capitalism. This may include universal basic income, wealth redistribution, and a focus on environmental sustainability. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more insights into the future of global economies.